So,
Right.
but yeah, it seemed like I don't know, a great idea. And then I also loved the initial, all the handouts and the community boards and the way that was posted there and you can see like how much time it should take. That was really helpful to me. And I felt like those first few weeks I had a lot going on, but it was like those things made me put the time in, at least some time in. It made me feel more pressure, I guess, which is how I work best. So, and then I feel like two things happened kind of simultaneously. Like when those stopped and my personal life got a little more busy, hectic, it just got to be too hard for me to do, which I think was timing and then also just the way that I'm motivated, I guess. But yeah, I was out of town for like maybe like half of the weeks. So that was one strike against me, with the Google chat thing. And the other thing is, I had thought, oh, I can do 9 o'clock because my baby goes to bed, at like 8. But then because I was traveling with my baby, I was on different time zones and there was that. And then when I was back home and my husband would be in town for like a week, I was like, I couldn't take like the 1 hour away from like hanging out with him after the baby went to bed to like get on a Google chat. So it was just like personal choice, really, towards the end. But also our Google Hangouts, I was making like big efforts to get in them and I would say around like week 3 or 4. And so were some other people in our group. Like one guy was Skyping in from like Yosemite or, like, I don't know. And I could tell people were trying to be there, but we were all really trying to be there and no one had done anything. So it was a little like to me, I was kind of like, we're all making this effort to be here, but like, we're all just saying we didn't get much done this week, which I know like was encouraging that nobody was like, harshly judging anyone. But I guess it was, again, like not another added sort of pressure that the accountability I think is supposed to bring. But I was part of the problem, so I can't say,
Totally.
but that was just one thing that I thought was like, I don't know. And I don't know if that's was just the 2 meetings I was in or,
Yeah, no, I think that you were in a particular cohort. It was, it's been funny to download because I was working with 2 other cohorts and not yours. And it sounds like there seems to be a big thing of momentum at the beginning that helped some of the cohorts that like really took off, like ramped up, because there was like momentum early on. People just kept coming with more and more stuff. And then in other cohorts where there wasn't like momentum at the beginning, then it seemed like people would show up but not have got done as much, and then that momentum just kind of keeps on flagging. There's not really the accountability. The other thing, and something that we're trying to work on for a next session, is like this idea of even if you haven't like gotten anything done, like guaranteed you got a ton of shit done. It's just like how you contextualize it. So I wasn't in that group, so I don't know exactly, but in our other groups, people would be like, I didn't get as much done as I would have wanted to, but here's all the things I did get done. And sometimes the wins would be unrelated to their project, but they were still wins. So it was much more a celebration of all the wins as opposed to a sort of group session of like, excuses for why shit didn't get done. So I think there's context also that helps that we're realizing is important.
Yeah. I think too, like, I get people don't always want to share everything that they're doing, but I felt also like people were really vague about what they were doing. And I would have liked to have seen kind of like specifics or like, maybe that would have felt more motivating.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the final presentation, like you got to see what people actually were working on. Like we were just kind of talking about like, I should have made this list or whatever, but it wasn't like I don't know. I did have one guy in our group sent me, like, because I was going to do different, basically work on pitches to deliver to potential clients, essentially be my project. And he sent me some pitches he had done, like just showed me.
Was that Ryan?
Yeah. And that was so, like, very, I felt like if that kind of thing had happened every week, like that would have been like very impactful, you know?
Totally.
But, and even if it wasn't in my necessarily like in my, like there was a guy that was like a screenwriter, like, you know, it doesn't have to be photography, but like just that kind of very specific, like showing me like what you're working on or what you did would be maybe more inspiring, because it was see that stuff at the end. But
as opposed to the more vague stuff of just kind of like, I'm getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Working on things.
Yeah.
Got some life stuff going on also.
Or branding or whatever. Like, I don't know what that really means, like what you really are doing, you know?
Totally. So what, like what would you like? I guess the actual questions I had written out, you've kind of touched on, and then they don't actually apply. So let me just kind of think of what a better way to ask the question is. Well, let me ask you this. Did you do any of that? Because like making pitches for clients is just like a part of your business in general, right? Like it's not really a Art of Freelance specific project. It's just something you wanted to get done for your business.
So I have made some efforts to reach out to clients. Like I've sent an occasional mailer, or I've never really tried to like go to agencies and have meetings, and I've done videos where I've like done a test, you know, I want to do this project. So I go and make a video. Like a lot of people's projects are like, I've always wanted to shoot this, so I'm going to go shoot that. And that's never been a problem for me in the past. Like if I want to make it, I'll go make it. So, but what I do is I make it and then I just don't do anything with it. For me, it was an opportunity to say, I'm going to actually take these projects and I'm going to actually pitch them, which is the whole intention with the reason I'm making it in the first place. So it seemed to, I feel like it would have worked. But then I just never couldn't get around to it each week. Basically.
Yeah, totally.
And I still feel like I will do it, but I wanted to really do it in a very intentional way and spend a lot of time on, you know, rather than just shoot off to like, oh, I'm like, I need to follow up with LA Magazine and I'm going to shoot her an email with like a really vague idea. Like I wanted to do things that actually spent a lot of time on, and see if that made a difference when I sent them out to people. So that was, you know, what I wanted to do. And I have like 3 projects that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I was going to, you know, split those 3 up, find like 10 clients for each and contact each of them, try to get meetings, like make a real effort of it, which I've never done before. So
did it feel at some point like it was too big of a project to tackle, so it just never got started? Like if you'd been able to break it down into
make it simpler,
smaller pieces, and it was 20 minutes a day instead of like the sort of.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely would work. I often think too, like just if I spent 30 minutes a day on something like this, what would that mean for my life, you know?
Yeah.
Which is why I liked the idea of this program. And, you know, and if I had been better at it, I think it would have done a lot more for me. So,
well, no, I mean, it's a cool idea. I mean, something we've talked about a lot in the other groups was people that were like, just got slammed with work during the project. And they were like, I don't have 2 hours to work on this. And it was like, okay, like what could you get done in 20 minutes every day? Like you work 20 minutes on a project every day for 10 weeks. That's still, you know, a good 40 hours that you're putting into a thing. Yeah. However that breaks down.
Like, even just having even just knowing I was involved in Art of Freelance, like I did do more than I would have without it. Like I did, you know, I would like wake up or not be able to go to sleep and I'd be writing down like I should contact this person, this person, this person, this person, and I'd make like a list. But the list is just like sitting on my nightstand, you know? It's like that kind of. situation for me right now, but
it's a long
but
process. We all say we're going to get shit done in 10 weeks. It takes a year. Like, that's just regular.
yeah.
What's part of being a freelancer, I think, is being ambitious about what's possible and sometimes unrealistic with your time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so weird how like if it's a job that I'm hired to do, like I would never not get it done, you know?
Totally. How do you treat yourself like your own client?
Yeah, like how do you make that happen? I don't know.
Well, interestingly, I mean, that's what the accountability groups were supposed to be. And I think that
Right.
unfortunately, and it was, this was the first inaugural MVP experiment with it. And I think that one of the learnings is it sounds like your group didn't use the accountability in the way that maybe we set out to do, or the way that other groups naturally did, which was like using it as making it okay making excuses okay because everybody had the same ones versus like actually holding each other accountable. Like in other groups, people would be like not okay showing up with anything other than, everyone has the same excuses always, for sure. And like not taking anything away, having a child is certainly more of an excuse than like, oh, like I love Stranger Things and like I just had to get another episode in. But like, for whatever it is, it's like no matter what whether it's focused on the excuses or focused on the wins, I think there's a way to like push it further over to being focused on the wins. And then I think people naturally want to bring more to the table and scramble to get stuff done at the last minute. But if you're going to check in with people that are just all going to let you off the hook, that's not really an accountability session.
I think you're right. And I had 2 ideas about the accountability.
Yeah, please.
That would maybe have helped me.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think someone mentioned like more in-person meetings, or I know you guys tried to set up a couple and I was supposed to come to one and didn't. But I mean, even if every week it could be in person, like that would really be like, there's not, I don't know.
We're dealing with the reality of people not even being able to read an email or check in on their phones, let alone be in person. But people are certainly more motivated to come to.
It'd be harder to like cancel on meeting somebody, than to just not phone in.
Totally.
But it is harder to get there than to get on your phone. But I don't know. And then the other thing was, like I do a monthly shoot. That's not the same, but it's really hard to get all of our schedules lined up. But we do this thing called, it's a doodle. Have you heard of this? So I wondered if like, because some weeks it was just like, I can't do this Wednesday night. I know it probably makes the most sense for everybody to have it the regular time each week.
Right.
But part of me wonders if it had been like on Sunday, we all said when was the best time. And then that time we did it.
Yep.
Because there was like one of the times we were all meeting, everybody was like, half of us were like on the East Coast, and it was super late, and probably would have been better for everyone to do it at like 6 instead of 9.
Yep.
But that probably would complicate things too, but it just was an idea.
Yeah, no, totally. No, it's interesting to think about like if you were going to miss your regularly scheduled check-in with your, because part of it is that we do want people to build the bonds with the cohort and know what their projects are, not have to reintroduce themselves every week and not just be checking with random people. But the idea that like if you were going to miss your regularly scheduled one, maybe there's like a makeup one that's happening at another alternate time that week, and maybe it's not all your people, maybe it's other people you don't know, but it's still an opportunity just to check in and share your wins for whatever it's worth, and that way you're still being held accountable to that piece. So it's a good idea. I mean, somehow it magically worked out that everybody got a time they requested, like because we went and asked people what times worked for them, and somehow managed to get everybody into a cohort at a time that they said worked for them, and then a bunch of people were like, well, I can't do that time, and we were like, well, that was the time you said you could do. Like we moved heaven
and every problem I have with or every like thing I thought I have about that was bad was my bad, really. Like I totally think any problems were on my end. So
no, but it's interesting because your problems are the same as every freelancer's problem. So it's really important to address what it was that didn't work. And they all make perfect sense. Life gets in the way, like you travel more, a job comes up, the timing is difficult, like all of those things are completely reasonable, normal It's not like you're like, well, I just started really getting into heroin and just didn't have time
Right.
to do the thing. It's just like, yeah, life and work make it difficult to commit to something like this. So figuring out how to like help mitigate that as best as possible um,
Yeah.
is good. And it's interesting because I'm really happy actually to talk to you about it because I've gotten like in one of the other cohorts we had 8 people start, we had 8 people finish, all with amazing projects, and like again it was a momentum thing I think. But
Right.
most people were the people I knew the fewest of, and like one was in Bali, one was in Denver, one was in New York. Like they were really spread out. They were like in the most various industries. Like one was a screenwriter, and one designed dinner parties, and one was a photographer, and one was a musician. And so it was like super diverse also. So just trying to figure out what made that one work really well, and then what didn't work about.
It's a total mentality, where it's like you say, like if the pressure is in there in your group, then everyone will get it done. And if everyone's like in the same boat of not getting it done, like that's not,
Totally.
doesn't go anywhere. What was I going to say about that? Oh yeah. I almost wonder if you could do like a mini personality test at the beginning and find out like who is motivated by what, or like.
It's funny. We definitely talked about it. We had like we were going to do a Briggs test for everybody, but we felt like the beginning, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we felt like the beginning was sort of the maximum amount of stuff that we could have put on people in that amount of time. Like,
Yeah. At the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to get all this like done, and I'd see like 2 hours and I'd be like, oh my God.
totally.
But it was really good for me. Like I liked that feeling, that like terror.
It seemed like everyone hated the idea of it, but then enjoyed doing the actual process of the thing. But
And I thought they were so informative. Like when you would actually complete one of the exercises, it was really telling, and it would really like I don't know. That was really good.
well, it's good to hear. I mean, I think the plan there is to just space it out a little bit more so people have the same exercises, but a little bit more time to do it so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming, and also giving a better sense of the overall 10 weeks. Because I think people are like, I can't keep this pace up for 10 weeks. And I was like, no, 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 you're almost at the finish line. Then you're just going to do your project. But we were, not exactly. I mean, it was the first time we had done it. So it was hard to say exactly how 10 weeks were going to go without knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No.
so this is all super, super helpful.
I hope so.
No, it's great. I mean, is there anything like, that like, I mean, we're going to go back and we're going to keep refining it and work on the middle section. We're trying to make this sort of like, one thing we thought would be really helpful is a more formal weekly check-in with yourself that becomes a thing that you share with your group that really gets you, yes, to check in on what you want to change and where you want to be next week, but also focuses you on celebrating the things you did get done during the week. And then that's
Yeah.
what you bring to your check-in meeting versus sort of just showing up sort of with
Yeah.
unprepared and being like, I don't know, guys, I got some stuff done and I forget what it was.
Yeah. I'm big in my personal life and work life of making like to-do lists, and then I have like a standing one in Evernote, and I just am constantly adding and crossing off. And I don't know why I didn't do one specifically for the project. Like that probably would have really helped me if I in the meeting said, this is my to-do list for the week, and then the next week I said, what did I get done, and here's my new one.
Totally. Yep.
Something simple, but
Cool. Yeah, that's the plan, to sort of help people in that middle lull section, because I feel like you were maybe the best example of like great in the beginning and then like this lull hits and then it's too late to like get back at the end.
at a certain point I just had to say, like I could keep going with this, but it's becoming like so stressful for me that it's better for me to just deal with what I have to, like my work and family right now, and then
Totally.
other stuff done later.
I mean, that's so interesting because this was never meant to be like more work or a stress or whatever. Like this is your personal work. This is you.
Self-imposed, it was like,
Totally.
and I'm even having that, like I have that work-life balance. Like I've always had a good work-life balance, I feel like, but with a baby, it's like you have to like now refigure it all out. So,
Totally.
and I've really taken a like lag year to spend more time with the baby since he's like never going to be this baby again. So it's been a whole thing for me. So that's when, but the program was good because it made me like figure out, okay, well, actually, I'm going to choose baby right now. And then I'll get back on this later. So I don't mean that the program was stressing me out. I just mean that like I was having to like figure all of this out while I was doing that, because my project was basically my furthering my career or not.
Yeah, totally. Well, no, I mean, it's interesting because I think no matter what, if we make a commitment, if we say out loud, especially to other people, I'm going to get this done, and we feel like we're not getting it done, then we feel behind the ball, and then that adds on top of itself, and we feel like we're in debt of things we said we were going to do. And it is stressful, and trying to find a way to take that pressure off is, you know.
I think it's good to have the pressure though. Like, I think it was like a good pressure.
Until it became too overwhelming and you were like, I just gotta, as opposed to if the pressure could have just been like, it doesn't matter what you complete at the end. It doesn't have to be what you set out to do. But if you did 20 minutes a day along the way.
I did just start like sending out crappy emails to people rather than like the nice pitches I wanted to do. Cause I was like, I'm just thinking about this. I've been thinking about it for so long. I'm just going to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, kind of thing.
Well, that's the truth also. It will never be perfect.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I was like doing things, you know?
Yeah. It's really
it wasn't the way I had intended it. So,
that's life.
And I would say too, that like, I would do it again because I feel now that I have more control over my schedule, and then I would be able to get more accomplished. So I don't know, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's some other people who feel like they would want this to keep going, or would want, you know, this to roll around every year, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning on doing it again in the fall, so we'll keep you posted. We're gonna do it 2 different ways. We're gonna do like a weekend workshop where we do like 2 days of all of the first few weeks of work, so all those assignments, and just like do it all at once and see if that creates more momentum. And then we're also going to do it the same way you just did it, where it sort of trickles out over 10 weeks. But however it works, we're hoping that those 2 groups of people will like coincide for the 7 weeks of actually just doing the check-ins. And then everyone will sort of end at the same time for another big party before the end of the year. So that's the hope in an ambitious world. We'll see how it comes together.
Well, I'm really like impressed that you're doing this and like your work and everything.
All the things. I appreciate it.
I had the idea and actually did it and did it well. Like really, I think it was done very well. So
awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll certainly keep you posted. Spread the word. The website's up. People can sign up to just like throw their email addresses on so they can get notified as soon as we announce the next course. But we'd appreciate that.
Yes, I will let people know about it.
Cool. And I took a look at some of your stuff. It's great. It's definitely good to know more. I know you're doing more than just the behind the scenes and interviews on set, but that's a really good. I've been telling people for years they should like try to own that space right there, because it comes up all the time. And there's no one that you can just send a client like a really clean link to exactly what they want with that. So
yeah, it's a good space for me now because, you know, the shoot's already planned and I just show up. So it's nice. Totally. And nice for me right now. And I love doing them. So yes, I'm trying to reach out to whoever and let them know I do that.
There's a whole world. I mean, have you ever called what you do EPKs?
No.
So are you familiar with electronic press kits?
I am somewhat. I mean, I used to do more music stuff, so it would be thrown around then, but.
So EPK specifically for TV shows are what I'm talking about. So any TV show pretty much these days has an EPK happen, and it's basically interviews with the actors on set during the photo shoot. And it gets packaged with, you know, the electronic press kit, which will be the, you know, the publicity photos and the write-up on the show and maybe an episode or whatever. And I've been looking at that for years, and it's usually done by a dude that's in-house at the network or the studio, but not always. There's certainly good examples of outside companies coming in and doing EPKs. and you know, it's a lot of travel because they do them in a lot of different cities, but just thinking about that as an additional outlet for exactly what you're already doing. They just call it something different, but it's the same thing. So I don't know if it's easy to like Google search, you know, TV show EPK or whatever and watch some examples of it. But if you could find a way to get into that space also, I bet you there's a ton of work for that, because the networks can't always do them themselves. They have extra budgets they need to spend. They just, you know, they just fired their one video guy, whatever it is. Like, and there's not a ton of people that are going to be marketing EPK services to TV networks with a sort of artistic flair. So it'd be a pretty small field to be competing against, I bet.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. And you think you get in touch with like the digital directors at these?
It would be, yeah, like the publicist, the publicity department. Like I feel like their on-air departments handle it sometimes. It's not always clear, but like it's basically like their SVP of marketing is probably in charge of both the design director and also the like broadcast director that's handling the EPK stuff, if that makes sense. So I don't actually exactly know, and it's probably different from network to network, who you would contact. And like I said, a lot of networks have it in-house, but it'd just be interesting to start kind of looking at and poking around and seeing what's out there and keeping that in the back of your mind, that it's basically what you do, just called something else that's like its own little market that not everybody's chasing after. So
cool.
Yeah.
We'll look at that.
Yeah. It pays better than editorial, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I don't do editorial anymore because they suck.
Totally. Well, cool. Well, thanks for all the feedback, and I appreciate you doing the thing.
Thank you so much.
Nice to make your acquaintance at the party.
Yes, nice to meet you, and yeah, hopefully we'll cross paths soon. And yeah, keep me in mind if you need video stuff on your shoots.
I will do. All right. Thanks, Victoria.
Good luck with Art of Freelance.
Thanks.